You remember the Street Sharks? Of course you do. Those awesome crime-fighting heroes that absolutely took over the 90s. You can still picture Ripster, Jab, Streaks and Big Slamoo bursting right through the pavement, ready to put the bite on evil. But what if I told you that the real story of how they were created is even wilder than the cartoon? It's a tale that doesn't start in some secret lab but in the quiet aisles of a public library with a former Mattel employee who was about to challenge the undisputed kings of the toy aisles, the Ninja Turtles. This isn't just a story about a cartoon, it's a billion-dollar toy war, and this is the untold origin of how a trip to the library sparked a pop culture phenomenon. Street Sharks was one of the biggest things when I grew up. It even sparked the name for my YouTube channel. When we were on vacation, the wave which included the figure Man, which my channel is named after, had hit the shelves in Denmark, where we were visiting. I had never even heard of this character, and I still to this day can remember the feeling I got as a kid when I saw this figure. It was the coolest thing I had ever seen. And that feeling is actually what made me call this channel Man TV. But to really get where Street Sharks came from, you have to go back to the early 90s, when the toy world was completely owned by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Every single toy company was desperately trying to catch that same lightning in a bottle, and it led to a whole parade of mutant animal cartoons. Mattel, one of the biggest players in the game, didn't just want a slice of the pie. They wanted to bake a brand new one. And that's where Joe Galliani comes in. Galliani was a creative guy who had worked his way up at Mattel, starting as a temp and eventually writing for huge brands like Barbie and Hot Wheels. He had since left the company but was now working with a licensing agent named David Siegel. In 1991, Siegel gave Galliani a simple but massive task: create the next big male action line for Mattel. Siegel had one single word to start with: shark. But he needed a world, a story and characters that could actually compete. This is where the story takes a hard left turn. Galliani didn't just lock himself in a brainstorming session. He went to his local public library. His method was simple but kind of brilliant. He wanted to know what the target audience, which in this case were young boys, actually were obsessed with. So he started looking at the checkout cards for books and saw a clear pattern. Any book about sharks had a huge waiting list. This was years after the movie Jaws terrified a whole generation. Its legacy was still creating this powerful fascination with the ocean's apex predator. As Galliani himself put it, boys just love sharks. This was the key. While other companies were just throwing darts at the dartboard hoping something would stick, Galliani had found real data. The competition was tough, for sure, but the turtles are defensive by nature. Sharks were pure, aggressive, extreme energy, a perfect match for the high-octane attitude of the 90s. Galliani had this animal. Now he just had to give it some attitude. He built the core concept: 4 brothers transformed into half-man, half-shark hybrids by a gene slammer, who fight the evil scientist that made them. He created the heroes, the villains and the story, and even the basic ideas for the toys. The foundation was now set. Armed with this killer concept, Galliani and Siegel walked into a pitch meeting at Mattel in 1994. Galliani started laying out his vision: humanoid sharks, each with their own unique powers and personality. He described toys with knockout punches, projectile eyeballs, and powerful chomping jaws. He even pictured them sold in boxes that looked like diving cages, with some of the sharks on rollerblades to really sell the street in the Street Sharks name. This pitch was so good that he didn't even get to finish it. An executive from the boys' toy department just held up a hand and said, "We want it, we'll take it." Galliani had noticed that the exec was doodling his own version of man sharks on a notepad the entire time. It was, in Galliani's own words, the best meeting I ever had. Mattel was all in. They knew this was their shot to go head to head with the Turtles. From there, the backstory was fleshed out. 4 brothers, John, Bobby, Coop, and Clint Bolton, are the sons of a good-hearted scientist, Dr. Robert Bolton. But his partner, the evil Dr. Luther Paradigm, used his shared gene slammer tech to mutate the brothers into shark hybrids. And just like that, Ripster, Streaks, Big Slamoo, and Jab were born. During their first fight, Dr. Paradigm himself gets sapped with the piranha DNA, turning him into the villainous Dr. Pyranoid. To make this a #1 hit, toy design meant everything. Mattel wanted figures that were physically bigger and chunkier than the competition. They were designed to be tough, colorful, and loaded with action features. Ripster, the great white, had a power punch. Big Slamoo, the whale shark, had his signature ground slam. Streaks, the tiger shark, rocked his rollerblades, and Jab, the hammerhead, used his head as a battering ram. Their skins were even given real texture to make them more appealing. And the packaging was another stroke of genius. The plastic bars on the box made it look like the sharks were breaking out of a cage, which gave them incredible shelf appeal. With the concept locked and the toys rolling out the shelves, Mattel planned an all-out assault at the 1994 Toy Fair, the biggest event in the industry. To build hype, they needed someone who could sell the awesome energy of the new heroes. For that job, they hired the then unknown actor from New York for $250 a day. This actor was Vin Diesel, decked out in a sleeveless leather vest with a fin on his back. A young Vin Diesel spent 2 weeks passionately showing off the chomping jaws and the power punches of the street sharks. This was to mesmerize toy buyers. Galliani recalls that Diesel just immediately got it, perfectly capturing the radical attitude of the brand without needing any direction. But Mattel knew that a great toy line in the 90s needed a great cartoon to really blow up. They partnered with DIC Entertainment and Bobot Entertainment to create an animated series that would launch the characters into the living rooms everywhere. The show premiered in September of 1994 as a part of the Amazing Adventures cartoon block, and it was an instant hit. It built out a world of Fish City and gave the sharks the distinct voices and personalities we remember. Galliani himself was brought in to punch up the script, making sure to inject those iconic catchphrases like "jawsome" and "fantastic." The synergy was perfect. The show sold toys, and the toys let you bring the show to life. And the strategy worked better than they could ever have imagined. In its first full year on the market, 1995, the Street Sharks toy line pulled in an incredible, or should I say, awesome, $40 million. In some places, they were even outselling the seemingly unstoppable Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The same kids who were on the library waitlist for shark books were now begging for them in the toy aisles. In the next episode about the Street Sharks, we will start to dive into the toy line. If you had fun diving into this untold story about the Street Sharks, make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite nostalgic toys and cartoons. And let us know in the comments, which Street Sharks was your favorite? Thanks for watching.